Okay, Ashley, thanks so much for being with me on Football W. I obviously know you're super busy, so I appreciate the time. But we're kind of at the part of the end of the season where everyone's back from the summer tournaments and we're looking ahead into obviously the last month of the season. So how are you feeling? Yeah, and how is the team feeling moving into the fall?
Yeah, I think the team is kind of on an uphill trajectory, which I think is really good for where we're at in the season. And obviously, we have a lot of players that are coming back from Olympics and some coming back from injuries. So I think that we're going to be able to put all the pieces together and make a really good run in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think so too. Obviously, I mean, you've been a huge part of that. You made history scoring against all 14 active teams, which is incredible. It's so remarkable, especially at your age. One usually only makes history, I think, at 30 or above. So that's incredible for you. And honestly, yeah, it's just fun to watch because I know how good you are, and I played with you a little bit when I was kind of on my way out and you're on your way in. But how do you feel? And what does that mean to you about making history in this type of way, scoring goals?
Well, honestly, I had no idea that I was even close or anything. And honestly, I thought they had got it wrong because I was like, I don't think I've scored against North Carolina.
You're like, was
Um,
that
but
me?
then,
Did I
but
do
then I
that?
fact checked it, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess I have. But yeah, I mean, it's really cool to make any sort of history in this league is like such a big accomplishment. There's been so many great players that have played here, so to be able to make some sort of history is just crazy to me, honestly. But yeah, it was honestly a huge surprise.
How do you work on scoring goals? Like, do you stay after training and you do reps, or are you watching a lot of video? I obviously know you watch a lot of soccer, just on TV as well. And we were just talking about Champions League. But how do you train that, and why are you so good at it?
Honestly, I think our coaching staff does a really good job of making every single practice really realistic and honestly making it a little bit harder to score. So I feel like when I put in these opportunities in games, I know that I'm able to like do it because I've practiced it so much. And yeah, definitely when we're able to do extras, they're a little skimpy on that sometimes. Then like a lot of the players and attacking players do that too.
Yeah, and me watching the games too. Like I think you have like elevated North Carolina, and I know in the past everyone's like, oh, they're one of the best teams in the way that they possess the ball, and yeah, that is right. But I think you've given them this elegance because for me, when they were playing the four block, it was always difficult to defend. But because we would just stay so compact, I felt like North Carolina wasn't always able to break through. They would have to go around. But with you now being in the team, and what makes it so attractive is that, they can find you. And once they find you in the pocket, then you spin and then you're off to the races and teams are in trouble. So I think like that's been so impressive. Just a side note, from the outside looking in, which is why I think, the attack for you all has been so successful because you're in there now and you make it just that much more creative, and unpredictable. So I know things are obviously going well, but take us back to the moment, now coming from DC, obviously maybe being blindsided or being blindsided with the trade. I was also in DC, blindsided, traded to Orlando, so I somewhat know how it feels. And it was really difficult. So I'm just wondering, like, how's your reaction now, and how are you feeling at this time? What was it like, kind of getting the news in that moment?
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously really hard. I had been there for a couple years and some of my best friends were on that team, so I was like super comfortable. Um, but I think as soon as it happened, I knew in my heart that was like what I was supposed to do, and I thought it was going to be a really good opportunity for me. Um, and I've always admired the way that they played, and I knew that I was going to be able to get on the ball more. So that was really attractive to me. And I knew I could kind of make more of an impact than I was making at Washington because I felt like it was more of a transition game, which doesn't really fit me as much. So I was honestly really excited. And then getting here and hearing like their vision that they had for me and all those things like made me a lot more excited about getting here. And obviously, like in no way has this season been perfect, but I definitely think we've made strides and we're in a good place right now.
Yeah, and I can tell. I mean, you're a fan favorite. You know, you're so marketable. You're one of the best players on the team, if not the best player on the team, a U.S. Women's National Team player. So I'm really happy that, you know, you found a really good home and that you're thriving there because, you know, I can see that game in and game out. But I want to talk national team a little bit. But, you know, it would be kind of cool to start from the beginning because I even met you when you came in at like 16. And I knew you were brilliant then, and I knew you were going to have a long career at this level. So tell me how that is, like starting out so young and being involved, you know, with the national team for this many years.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of a shock when I went in and I was so young and you like go in and you're like playing with all these people that you've looked up to for like your whole entire life. And honestly, I was extremely scared. Um, and I think just wasn't my time. And it was a really good learning opportunity and I got to see how professional everyone was and I was not that at that point in my life. But it was honestly a really good experience and I knew that like I wanted to get back there and I wanted to like be able to be on the team and like be able to like show who I was, the creative player that I was, and be confident in that. But yeah, I definitely was really scared at that point. So then when I got the chance to go back, one of my first camps, I think it was like my rookie year or something, I was like really excited for myself that I was like able to get back there.
Yeah, I'm happy too because I knew at that moment how good you were, just that's so young. And I think gaining that experience, obviously, and those tools to kind of come back and then you nail it the next time is, yeah, it just shows how, you know, you've grown and the experience that you've now applied to come back in and just, yeah, thrive. So obviously making your first World Cup team and your first World Cup roster, that must have been an incredible feeling. You know, and obviously you wanted to play more minutes, right? We all want to play the maximum minutes at a World Cup, but just tell me how that experience was for you. And are you still wanting to get back into the squad? Because I definitely think they could use an Ashley Sanchez for sure.
Yeah, I think, as you said, it's always hard when you're not playing and the team's not doing well and you think you can make a difference. But honestly, it was still such a great experience for me and it made me that much more hungry to like get back into it. Um, but yeah, I'm not gonna look back and have any sort of regret or anything like that. But yeah, I was just really happy. It sucked to lose, but again, it's like I think it just made all of us. And you can see with the Olympics how it probably affected everyone else. And just to like get to that next step to be able to be, winning. So I think it was a really good experience for me. And obviously I want to go back and make a difference and hopefully win some hardware in some way.
Well, you're definitely on your way because if you continue to play like you've been playing, there's no question in my mind that you'll be back there, and then you know you can make an even bigger impact. And so I'm happy for you how this season has gone, and you've been brilliant. So I'm sure that's the next step. But bigger picture, you know, we're coming down to the end of the season, obviously in the VSL. What's the motivation for the team? Obviously for you individually, but what's the motivation and the approach? You know, you're in fifth place, obviously, right, kind of, you know, in the mix, obviously, for the playoff push. What's the most important thing moving into these last games? And what kind of noise do you think that you all can make in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think we're just taking it game by game. There's still a lot that could happen in these last couple games. I think we're in a really good spot. But honestly, I think a lot of people are focused on maybe one or two or three teams, and I think we can
Mhm.
definitely kind of sneak in there and upset a lot of teams. I think we have all the quality to do that. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I think being a little bit of the underdog, and maybe
Mhm.
a team that people aren't really talking about or thinking about, and maybe just surprising some people.
Yeah, I like that idea. We had that underdog mentality too, and I feel like it worked all the way through. It was just like this extra motivation to want to prove
Mhm.
yourself. So I get that.
Exactly.
Um, well, wrapping up the interview, I think we're good on time. But I always have this fun part of the interview called Krieger's Corner, and it's just like rapid questions. So
Oh
take your
gosh.
time. Take your time. No. So
Yeah.
start at the first one, which is more a North Carolina question. And I don't know if
Okay.
you go here. So if not, like it's fine. But what is your
Okay.
favorite cookout milkshake flavor? If you've ever been to cookout. If
Okay.
not, just what's your favorite food spot?
Okay.
And
Oreo shake is the only one I've had, but it was really good.
okay. So Eastern or Western style barbecue or no barbecue?
That's hard. I would say I think Eastern.
Or Kansas City barbecue, maybe. That's a good
Oh,
one.
Kansas City. Kansas City.
Okay. Okay.
They're doing
All right.
something right there in Kansas City.
They are. They are. Every time we go there, I made sure to like get in there
Yeah.
and get a bite. Okay, so biggest culture shock when going from West Coast, obviously you're from LA, to East Coast.
The humidity, and even when it's raining, it's hot.
The worst.
Yeah,
the worst.
it's horrible.
Yeah, I
That
always
happened
would like
this morning.
right, and then your ponytail and it gets all
Yeah.
gross and
Yeah.
it's like, yeah. Okay, so favorite holiday tradition.
So on Christmas Eve, my family gets to open one present, and it's always pajamas. And I don't know why I get so excited to see like what the pajamas are.
Well, then you get to take a family photo.
Yeah.
With all that's actually really cute. I love that idea. We always would do that too when I was young. You get one present.
Yeah.
So you'd be able to go down and pick. Okay,
Yeah.
so last one. Texting or FaceTime?
It depends who.
Good answer.
I would say usually texting, but there is like a couple people that like Trin, for instance, we do not
Yeah.
text ever, but like we'll FaceTime. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's just kind of our thing. But
Yeah.
I feel like for most people, like don't just like cold call FaceTime me. Like that I
Yeah.
wouldn't.
You have to be like, are you good for FaceTime? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good. Okay, well, thank you so much, Ashley. I know
course.
you've been brilliant this season and you're moving into the playoffs. So I just want to wish you the best of luck. I love watching you play. And yeah, I just wish you continued success, both on and off the
Thank you so
field.
much. Thank you so much for having
Thank
me.
you.
All right, there we have a look at Ashley Sanchez's last two seasons in the NWSL. Of course, 2023 with the Washington Spirit, this year 2024 with the North Carolina Courage. Allie, more importantly, what are you, text or FaceTime?
I also agree with her. When she said that, I was like, yeah, that's very true. It depends on who. Mostly
Depends on
family. I like a FaceTime, but I text a lot. And then I think FaceTime's just like a cherry on top.
There you go. Okay. Speaking of cherry on top, how about this season Ashley Sanchez is putting together? We kind of touched on it when we were talking about Alyssa Thompson, but we do have the women's national team call-ups coming up in October. Got a couple games against Iceland. Do you think she'll be in the squad when Emma Hayes makes those choices?
I do think she deserves to be there, yes. I think she's been amazing. And just like I was saying in the interview, it's so impressive to see how she's implemented herself so quickly within the squad and really made a point and proved herself to make it difficult for the coaches to ignore her. And she does elevate the game. And I think we've spoken about this before, how she brings that type of elegance to the position. And they needed that. And I feel like she's a part of every attack and is such a creator and connector in midfield. So I think just to bring her in, put some fire underneath of the players who are already there with the U.S. Women's National Team is always healthy, with that competition. And I think she deserves it. I think, if you're playing well in the league, week in and week out, you're scoring as many goals as she is, you're having a positive impact on games. What more do you want from a player in her position? And I think it's great that she had an opportunity at a World Cup and to play at the level with the national team for a while, and maybe has kind of gone back to the chalkboard and really ironed out some of those details, and maybe she needed to get her to this next level and to be more consistent with the national team. And so I'm excited to see what Emma does and if she chooses her for one of the squads. But I do believe that because of her performances and the position that she's in, she deserves to be there.
We focused on the goals quite a bit. You mentioned it in your interview, but the assist she had this weekend was great. I mean, lots of class. She puts it on a silver platter for Pinto. And I think more importantly, or maybe what surprised me, is the speed, the power of the run to get to the place, to make the play. I think of her as a very technical player, but I think physically she's taken her game up a notch, and that's allowing her to maybe make some more of those plays. And we got to be honest, you know, the next thing on the horizon for the women's national team isn't for a couple years. It's 2027 World Cup. You got to start thinking future. So a player like this who's 25 years old, when you've got aging players, Haran, Lavelle in that midfield, you got to start to have some solutions. So if we see another month like this, ahead of those call-ups before the Iceland games, I think you got to assume that Ashley Sanchez, especially Allie, and this is the thing, of course, you know, it's going to be a bigger roster. It's not 18 like it was at the Olympics. You can bring 23, you can bring 26, you can bring however many players you want. And if you go out to 23 or 26 players, you can bet Ashley Sanchez will be in that pool.